Bahrain, February 2026. The paddock is watching, the cameras are rolling, and Ferrari just rolled out something that made every engineer on the grid stop breathing. An upside-down rear wing, a hidden exhaust trick, a car that looked wrong. But here's the question nobody asked. What if the car that looked wrong was actually the most right thing in the entire paddock? And what if everything you saw in Bahrain, the rotating wing, the strange side pods, the theatrical chaos, was never the real story? Because while the world was staring at the back of that red car, Ferrari was hiding something inside it, something no other team on Earth can copy. Something that doesn't just change one race, it could define an entire era. Let's go back to the beginning, because this story starts with a lie. A beautiful, calculated lie. When the SF26 first rolled out in Barcelona, it looked almost conservative. Enormous side pods, bulky cooling packages, bodywork that bulged outward like Ferrari was playing it safe. Every analyst on the grid looked at that car and said the same thing. Nothing to see here. That was exactly what Ferrari wanted. Because those side pods, they were never going to race. They were thermal mapping rigs, data collection tools. Ferrari wasn't showing you the car. They were using that car to build the car. Then came Bahrain Test 1. A second side pod specification appeared, wider entry, more cooling volume, designed to evaluate airflow under conditions closer to an actual race weekend. Still not the real car. Then Bahrain Test 2, and that's when Ferrari unleashed the visual chaos, the rotating Macarena wing that flips upside down on the straights, generating lift instead of downforce, gaining 8 to 10 kilometers per hour in a single DRS zone. The paddock lost its mind. And then the exhaust wing, a tiny aerodynamic surface sitting just behind the exhaust outlet, redirecting hot gases toward the diffuser, cleaning up rear airflow in ways the rulebook had never anticipated. The FIA needed weeks to approve it. Mark Hughes called it an ingenious loophole. But here's the pattern. 3 specification side pods, a wing that does a backflip, an exhaust trick buried inside a regulatory clause 60 millimeters wide. This isn't coincidence. This is a plan. The paddock told itself a comfortable story. Ferrari is being clever at the back of the car, revolutionary wings, smart exhaust packaging. But that was still too simple, because while every camera in Bahrain was pointed at the rear wing, nobody was watching the engine. And inside the engine, inside the cylinder heads of the 067/6 power unit, Ferrari had made a decision that no other manufacturer on the grid dared to make. Steel. Every other team, Mercedes, Red Bull, Honda, Renault, uses aluminum cylinder heads. Ferrari chose steel alloy. And that single material choice set off a chain reaction that reshapes the entire car. Here's the physics chain, and it is brutally clever. Steel withstands higher combustion temperatures and pressures than aluminum. Ferrari's own engineers described achieving pressures and temperatures inside those cylinder heads that have never been reached before in Formula One. Because steel provides superior thermal insulation, it keeps heat inside the combustion chamber where you want it, instead of bleeding outward into surrounding components. Less heat escaping the engine, less heat to manage, smaller radiators required. Smaller radiators mean smaller side pods. Smaller side pods mean reduced frontal area, cleaner airflow to the floor, and better rear downforce generation. One decision made inside the combustion chamber dictated the external shape of the car. But here's the twist. This almost never happened. The concept was pioneered by Wolf Zimmermann and Lars Schmidt, Ferrari's former engine research leads. Early prototypes failed durability tests. In October 2025, Ferrari reportedly scrapped the steel program entirely and reverted to an aluminum backup. Then Guido de Palo refused to let it die. He partnered with AVL, the Austrian powertrain specialists, cracked the durability problem, and Ferrari made the most aggressive call of their entire season. They abandoned the aluminum backup completely. No plan B, steel or nothing. And why could they absorb the weight penalty? Because the 2026 regulations increased the minimum power unit weight from 120 kilograms to 150 kilograms, 30 kilograms of headroom that swallowed the steel penalty whole. Ferrari didn't just find an advantage, they found one that no rival can replicate mid-season. Swapping cylinder head materials requires a complete engine redesign, new manufacturing processes, months of dyno testing. Mercedes can't do it. Red Bull can't do it, not before 2027 at the earliest. So what does this all mean when those lights go out in Melbourne? First, on track. Albert Park runs 72% full throttle, 4 DRS zones. Every millimeter of reduced frontal area pays dividends on every single straight. Charles Leclerc posted the fastest lap of the entire preseason, a 1:31.992, 0.8 clear of Mercedes. Ferrari's race simulations were described by Sky Sports as a statement run. The power unit covered the equivalent of 14 Grand Prix distances without a major failure. Second, strategically. The FIA is already requesting data on Ferrari's rear axle behavior. Rival engineers detected something during long runs in Bahrain. Rear tire degradation so linear, so controlled, so precise that it bordered on suspicious. Dynamic heights, internal tire temperatures, aerodynamic behavior maps. The Federation has placed a magnifying glass on Maranello before the season has even officially started. Third, politically. Andrea Stella, McLaren team principal and reigning double champions, stood in the Bahrain paddock and publicly conceded that Ferrari and Mercedes are a step ahead. But reigning constructors' champions just told the world they are behind. That is not humility. That is a warning signal. Scenario 1. The steel gamble holds. The third sidepod specification delivers. Ferrari wins Melbourne, and 2025's winless nightmare is reframed not as decline, but as investment. The most expensive, most painful, most deliberate investment in modern Formula One history. Scenario 2. The FIA review finds something. A technical directive lands. Ferrari's rear platform advantage is neutralized before the championship even takes shape, and a team that abandoned its Plan B has nowhere left to turn. Scenario 3. The exhaust wing races. Haas adopts the same concept. 2 Ferrari-powered cars exploit an aerodynamic loophole the rest of the grid physically cannot copy. The paddock doesn't applaud, it investigates, it protests, and Formula One's most controversial season begins not with a wheel-to-wheel battle, but with a war fought entirely inside the rulebook. Did Ferrari just play chess while everyone else was playing checkers? Or did they light a fuse under 2026 that explodes in ways nobody expects? One thing is certain, when those lights go out at Albert Park, we won't just be watching a race, we'll be watching the moment Ferrari finds out whether suffering purchases glory, or whether the smartest team in the paddock just outsmarted themselves. If you made it this far, you already know. This season isn't about who's fastest, it's about who survives the ambition. So tell me, did Ferrari just build the greatest car of the 2026 era, or the greatest gamble?